The new word is not.
No, not at all.
It's not digital. It is digital.
We want our members to be very busy. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We always start on time, but today we start before time because the distinguished one of our guests, Mr. Mashelkar, very, very senior person. When I read him, he's already joined us online. But it also gives me some time to speak about what's happening in MMA next few days, so that if you have missed it in your inbox, you don't miss it. The next event is happening on 23rd of March, Managing Social Organizations, Lessons from the World's Largest Pilgrimage Center. That is, we are talking about Tirupati. Very good. The two IIM professors who have written the research study on this, Professor Ravichandran and Venkat Ramaya is from Professor IIM Lucknow. And we have Babaji Rajesh Bhosle is hereditary trustee of Tanjavur Temple, and Mr. Subbarao, one of the most popular former executive director of TDD, and also Mr. Gopal Swami is IAS retired former chief election commissioner. So it's going to be a very interesting decisions. How the social organizations are so well run and how they contribute to the objective, what they have been established, and how the temple funds are used. Then we also have on the 21st an outreach program. 21st to 25th we have event already planned. On the 21st we have an event at lecture at Bhupati and Co. That is practical tips for responding to the significant transaction reported by income tax department. Very important, because something you don't declare, you get notice how to respond to them. It's very. Then on 25th of March, we have change management. This venue, this outreach program is not happening at MMA. One is happening at Bhupati and Co. Other one is happening at Indian Institute of India Foundry Man. Mr. Venkat Santanam is going to talk on SV strategic consulting. Then on 24th of March, we have again our read and grow, which we do it exclusively for management students. This time, power of regret. And we have Babu to lead the conversation with Jagannath, Deputy Zone Head of SDFC, and also Sudarshan Ranganathan is going to be talking to us in the panel. Then we also finally the program of April and May. Let me briefly tell you what's happening in April. 4th of April, we have Dr. Mohan. He's going to be talked on tips for maintaining good health and preventing chronic diseases. Mohan is a Padma-Shri awardee and chairman and chief diabetologist of Mohan Diabetes. You all know Mohan Diabetes, very, very popular. Then we have Mr. Shankar chairing the session. Then on Monday, the 17th April, this is a subject which we really discussed when you started. 1 year into Ukraine war, what is the impact on India and what is the geopolitical issues? We have Ambassador Tirumurthy, Ambassador, then also Nandan Unnikrishnan, distinguished fellow ORF New Delhi, and Air Marshal Vartaman, retired the previous he's a distinguished fellow, and also Mr. Satyamurthy will be joining us. Then on 19th of April, we have we have a very interesting end of life planning by Mr. Vish Viswanathan, CEO. He'll be talking to us on this, how you plan your future in terms of your succession plan, etc. Then Mr. Shankar will be chairing the session. We also planned and executed the program almost in the month of May and till end of May. Mr. Suresh Sambandham will be talking to Suresh. Then we have a seminar on water, quite a number of them. Now coming to today's event, India's pathway to success, winning in the next decade. And I know Ganesh Natarajan not new to MMA, and I'm going to read his profile. Outstanding personality to come and share his insight. He's come all the way from Pune to talk to us. And we have also Mr. Mashelkar, co-author and president of Pune International Center, joined us online. We have very, very distinguished panelists, Professor L S Ganesh, LSG, popularly known as Vice Chancellor of ICFAI University, Kannan IRS, former Principal Chief Commissioner of GST, Government of India. He has joined us. May I request the panelist and Mr. Ganesh to join us on the stage, please. Mr. Ganesh Natarajan, L S Ganesh, and Mr. Kannan, will you like to please join us on stage? Ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause to our distinguished panelists for this evening. And Mr. Mashelkar, very warm welcome to you, sir, for joining us online. We are all looking forward to listen to you on the very, very important science, technology, and innovation. I know we'll walk miles to listen to you. You are one inspiration for each one of us, and we would like to emulate you, if not intellectually, physically would love to emulate you, sir. And let me have the privilege of now welcoming our Senior Vice President for MMA, Mr. Mahalingam. Mali doesn't need introduction. You all know him very well. He's a Senior Vice President. He's the Director of TSM Sons. He's from IIM Calcutta. Many more, and very versatile. Great helper of MMA, and he was a convention chairperson and chairman. And many of the activities what we do is inspiration for us. I now request Mali to deliver the formal welcome address. Mr. Mali.
Thanks, Vijay Kumar. As usual, he's motivated me to welcome all of you with energy. Thanks, Vijay. Good evening, everybody. Warm welcome to all of you. Actually, it's getting hotter, so it's a warmer welcome. So it's indeed my privilege and honor to deliver the formal welcome address at this very special program. A discussion on the theme of the book, India's Pathways to Success, Winning in the Next Decade, authored by the famous Mr. Ganesh Natarajan, who has come all the way from Pune to join us this evening. Thank you so much, Mr. Ganesh, for taking the trouble to travel thousands of miles to be here with us. Thank you. It's a privilege for us at MMA. We are honored. Thank you. I consider it an honor to welcome this evening Dr. R A Mashelkar, FRS co-author and President Pune International Center, who has joined us online to share his insight on science, technology, and innovation agenda. Thank you, Mr. Mashelkar. Dr. L S Ganesh, Vice Chancellor, ICFAI University, and Mr. S. Kannan, IRS, former Principal Commissioner, GST. Thank you all of you for being here. Also take this opportunity to welcome the members of MMA from all over Tamil Nadu and Pondicherry, invitees and guests from other organizations, and large number of participants from all over the country who have joined us online this evening. Our online viewership and participation is increasing rapidly. What was a necessity of COVID has now become a part of our attendance now. And it goes into the orders of tens of thousands many times. For the benefit of members from other organizations, a brief on MMA. Established in 1956 with the aim of propagating management movement in this part of the country, over the years, MMA has evolved into the largest management association in the country with over 8,000 members, organizing over 750 events a year. I wonder how we do 2.5 events every day. That's Vijay Kumar's magic, Vijay Kumar and his team's magic. MMA has been, besides its has been awarded the Best Management Association Award in the country by AMA for the last 13 years running. Besides its regular activities, MMA also actively be working towards skill development of students from underprivileged backgrounds studying in poor school as part of its CSR initiative over the last couple of years. This activity originally started 2 years back is really turning out well. It has been on to today's topic. Where does India stand economically, socially, and politically? More than 75 years after independence. Where it should aspire to go from here in the next 25 years, as it touches the milestone of 100 years of independence in 2047. Everybody is talking about 2047 as a milestone. Should India become a manufacturing powerhouse to rival China, or should it stay content with services and become the information superpower of the world, or straddle both horses? Will India be able to achieve the target of a 5 trillion GDP in the foreseeable future? Many questions all of us have, and I guess the book of the discussion today is going to give us many answers, hopefully. These are some pertinent questions which we are concerned as management professions, and authors have addressed these questions comprehensively in their book. Edited by Mr. Ganesh Natarajan and Ijaz Ghani, this book is a compilation of essays by some of the best minds in India. Reviews of the book stand testimony to the fact that authors have provided a positive outlook, learning from past experiences with some pointers to the future. I am as much eager as you are all this evening to know more about the book and hear from Mr. Ganesh Natarajan and Dr. Mashelkar, who have so passionately worked on the book for all of us to read. I once again welcome all the distinguished speakers and thousands of viewers from all over the globe watching this program. Thank you. Nandri Vanakkam.
Thank you, Mali. And now the most important part of the evening is we'll formally release the book authored by Mr. Ganesh. I request you to please present a copy to other co-speakers and Mali so that it's a photo of Mali. Can you please join us? Sure. And Mr. Mashelkar, you can show the book from there itself. Yes.
Yes.
Copy of the book. Yeah, please. Thank you for doing the honor to release the book. It's indeed a privilege for us. Ladies and gentlemen, the format of the program is as usual. Those who are joined online, if you have a question, those who are in the auditorium, if you have a question, you can scan. There is a scanner given in front of you, QR code. You can scan and send your question. We'll compile them and place it before that. And all those who are watching a program on our social media portals, please share your questions, the numbers which is flashed on your screen. We'll be able to compile them and place it before them to answer all the questions. The format of the program is the first 15 minutes, the author kindly agreed to make a presentation to make us understand, set the context for this evening. Thereafter, the most awaited moment for the evening, Dr. Mashelkar will be talking to us, share his insights on STI, that is Science, Technology and Innovation. And he'll be talking to us what is the agenda on science, technology, innovation. So before we move forward, thereafter, we'll have a free-flowing conversation, and both the special invitees will share their insights. Going to be a fabulous evening. I'm quite sure when you step out of this auditorium, you will be so much insight and so much enriched by the knowledge. You'll know what's going to happen to your future. I see a lot of students. You know your future is very, very safe. Let me have the privilege of introducing the distinguished speakers before I hand it over to Mr. Ganesh. Mr. Dr. R A Mashelkar, FRS, the President of Pune International Center. He is also known for his world-class scientific research, for his transformative science and innovation, institutional leadership, for his pioneering different movements such as evolving global system for traditional knowledge production to help create strong yet balanced IPR system, to inclusive innovation movement based on the concept of Gandhian engineering that is he pioneered. He has been an influential thought leader in shaping science, technology and innovation policies in post-liberation area, which is kindly agreed to speak to us also this evening. Dr. Mashelkar has received several awards and is a member of numerous scientific bodies and committees. So for 45 universities around the world has honored him with honorary doctorates, and that's a big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. It's not easy to get honorary doctorate from 48 universities. Then he's also honored by the President of India, highest Indian civilian award, which could be conferred, Padma Shri, Padma Bhushan, and Padma Vibhushan. This also requires a big round of applause. So very rarely you will find somebody getting all the three. Dr. Mashelkar, it's a privilege and pleasure to have you with us this evening. Eagerly looking forward to hearing your thought-provoking insights. Then we have author for this evening, author who the book, and who will be making the presentation, Dr. Ganesh Natarajan. He's also part of IMA. We've done quite a bit of events with him. When he wrote the book itself, he said, sir, next book we are going to discuss at MMA. You have kindly agreed. It's a privilege to host you here, sir. Dr. Ganesh Natarajan is the executive chairman and founder of 5F World, a platform for digital startups, skill and social venture in the country. He is also the co-founder of Global Talent Track, Skill Alpha, and Lighthouse Communities Foundation, as well as Indo-US joint venture. And Dr. Natarajan has a master's degree in industrial engineering from NITIE Mumbai, a PhD from IIT Mumbai, and advanced management from Harvard Business School. He has been a distinguished alumnus award of IIT Mumbai, NITIE, and also recognized by Ernst & Young as the Asia Pacific HR Forum for Excellence in Technology, Entrepreneurship, and People-Centric Leadership. He received a number of awards and past positions. Named few number of awards, the gold medalist of mechanical engineering from IIT Mumbai, named as the CEO of the year by the Asia Pacific HR Conference, many more. And warm welcome to you, Dr. Ganesh. It's a privilege to have you with us this evening. Let me have the pleasure and privilege of introducing our well-wisher, mentor, and good friend of MMA, Dr. L S Ganesh. He is a Vice Chancellor of ICFAI University. He's got his B honors, mechanical engineering from BITS Pilani, and MTech and applied mechanics and merit prize, and also PhD from IIT Mumbai, IIT Madras, having completed his doctoral thesis in industrial engineering and management faculty institute. He has served as a visiting professor at the universities of Passau in Germany and Indian Institute of Management Bangalore, Kozhikode, and also Indian School of Business School Hyderabad, National Institute of Technology at Trichy, and other national level and sub-regional institutions. He served as a member of the Board of Governors of IIM Trichy and IIT Palakkad, and offers his advisory services to governing and academic bodies of several other institutions. He strongly believes that India and Indians have exceptional capabilities that require well-directed, intensely focused organizational effort to enable them to fully flow and result in inspiring, fearless, and timeless achievement. Pleasure to have you with us, Mr. Ganesh. And again, he's a well-wisher and mentor of MMA. So many events we do it under his guidance in MMA. One is that Kevin K Innovation Award. Then we have a dear friend and also well-wisher of again MMA, Mr. Kannan, IRS former principal, chief commissioner of GST, Government of India. Kannan belongs to 1988 batch of Indian Revenue Service, Custom and Central Excise, graduated from Engineering, JNTU, Hyderabad. He also holds a bachelor degree in law. And apart from professional capacity, he is a keen lover of good movies and president of Indocine Appreciation Foundation and chairman of Chennai International Film Festival. And he's also a senior diploma holder in French language. He's a versatile personality. I'm quite sure he's going to be, after leaving his service, entrepreneur for excellence, and you will really hear an voracious reader. If you see his residence, books, 3 rooms full of books only. We have a very outstanding panelists this evening with R A Mashelkar, and thank you for each one of you joining us. Now, I request Dr. Ganesh set the content. Okay.
So I thought I'd do a presentation, but I'll just talk to you guys because Dr. Mashelkar has a presentation and it'll be interesting to listen to his thoughts as well. So just to set the context, you asked me, sir, what is Pune International Center? Most of you would have heard about India International Center in Delhi, and of course, multiple Chennai has an international center, Bangalore has a thriving one. So Pune International Center was set up a few years ago by many of us who are founding trustees. And Dr. Mashelkar, of course, is the president of Pune International Center. And Dr. Vijay Kelkar, whom I'm sure most of you have heard of, was one of the most outstanding Padma Vibhushan finance secretaries of the government of India. So he's the vice president. And like any other international center, we primarily are a think tank. We host people from all sides of the economic, academic, and political spectrum. And in the recent past, we've also started a fairly significant publications event, not just papers, but in fact, there are 5 books that have emerged in the last 5 years. One was Dr. Mashelkar's own book with Ravi Pandit, which is How India Has to Pole Vault Rather Than Leapfrog. Then Dr. Vijay Kelkar and Ajay Shah, whose family owns the Center for Monitoring Indian Economy, they wrote this amazing book called In Service of the Republic. My own book, which we actually talked about in MMA on Zoom 2 years ago, which was more on achieving digital success, not transformation, but actually making it happen. And then, of course, last year, which is really towards the end of last year, we decided to collaborate and do a collaborative book. And that was primarily because of one defining event during COVID. Many of you will remember that China one day just decided to come and squat in Ladakh. Okay, and I think the country was taken by surprise. Our army, of course, gave a magnificent response. And even today, I think we're not even saying that the army cannot withstand China's challenge. But the reason 6 of us got together, that is Dr. Mashelkar, Dr. Kelkar, myself, Ajay Shah, Dr. Ajit Ranade, who was an economic advisor to the Birla Group and is today the Vice Chancellor of the Gokhale Institute in Pune, and Ambassador Gautam Bambawale, who has been an ambassador to Pakistan, to China, amongst other things. So when we brainstormed during COVID, and as all of you will remember, COVID gave us lots of time to do Zoom calls. So literally every Sunday, we used to do a 1-hour session and say, what should be India's response to China? And clearly the answer was not to be big brother and try and match China militarily. We also discovered, which most of us know, that while China and India were similar economically a few decades ago, at the time of writing that book, China was a $16 trillion economy and India was just about 2.8. So we said clearly one way where the world will take us seriously and on par with China, which by the way is beginning to happen today, I'm sure all of you know that, is by responding not just militarily, but economically, politically, diplomatically, and making sure that we are seen at all forums to be equivalent to China. So we wrote that book, which is actually a bestseller by Rupa. And after that, both the publisher as well as many of our friends in the government said, look, you've done a great job of comparing India with China. Why not talk about India at 2030 and India at 2047, as somebody mentioned, saying that, look, we've come a long way. India at 75 is a mixed bag of many missed opportunities as well as many successes. But why don't you guys write on saying that, look, if India has to be a true success story, everything that we talk about, hype about and everything else, what are the pathways to make that success happen? So as researchers and academicians from a previous life, we could not just do a hype book. So we said, let's first do research. So we did almost 6 months of research on where are we. And the bad news we all know, I think, we're still in terms of health, in terms of many parameters, poverty, which almost 60 crore Indians still languishing in a fair amount of poverty, clean fuel. There are multiple areas where we lag behind. There's also this concern that keeps popping up about, are we truly a collaborative liberal democracy? Does everybody have an equal say or equal voice, etc.? So those issues are there. But when we looked at the positive side, one thing that India can be justifiably proud of is the digital economy. I mean, all of you have heard of UPI. I mean, I play golf once a month, and after the fifth hole, the person on the guy who is actually selling tea doesn't accept cash, doesn't accept credit cards. He wants you to Google Pay so I think it's a very digital economy that's emerging. I myself and my friend Chandra here, who was the vice chairman of Cognizant, so we have been very actively part of the information technology services industry. And as all of you know, today that industry is 240 billion. But our belief is that while India will, during this decade, certainly become a $5 trillion economy, I mean, still not China's 16, 17 trillion, but a significant economy, the digital India opportunity is a trillion by itself. Not just UPI and Jandhan and Aadhaar and mobility, but all the opportunities that we see in platforms like UPI, which has been a real success story, and taking that forward. So when we wrote this book, I mean, one of the shining stars was Digital India. We also found that I think a lot of improvements today that we're seeing with the national education policy, a lot of initiatives. I mean, you've all seen the recent budget, huge focus on infrastructure. And I think whichever side of the political spectrum you're on, I think the infrastructure in terms of roads and what is now happening in railways is very, very substantial. So we said that's clearly a plus point that we see there. And many, many other things, which I will not talk about. It's there in the book. If any of you want, we can list it. But then we picked particularly 5 or 6 sectors to focus on how India can build pathways. The first is, of course, the economy itself. Because if you look at the 3 large economic contributors, which is agriculture, manufacturing, and services, India is proud of the fact that we are very strong as a services economy, but it's not adequate. I mean, the entire technology industry today gives jobs to 53 lakh people. And when you're talking about a country where almost 70 million people, 7 crore people will be looking for jobs in the next 7 years, it's far from adequate. So clearly the manufacturing economy had to grow up. So we are now very proud of the fact that, some of the PLIs, or the productivity linked incentive schemes, including, in areas like specialty steels, food products, of course, electronics, is really scaling. So that's one good news. And we also said that, look, clearly we are now the 5th largest economy in the world. It will become the 3rd largest economy, whether it's in 2028 or 2030, doesn't matter. But that's not enough. Just economic parameters and size for a population of 140 crores is not enough. So we said, what are the other things, or what are the other enablers that we must look at? Agriculture has to be much more productive. I mean, today, 52% of our country is engaged in agriculture, contributing less than 20% of GDP. Services has to move from largely concentrated in maybe 10, 12 cities to much more widespread across maybe 1,000 cities and towns, which means that a certain amount of reverse urbanization has to take place. I mean, today, it's almost, I was doing a book talk in Bangalore International Center, and to travel 5 kilometers at 6 o'clock in the evening took me 1 hour and 20 minutes. So I've never had a slower crawl in my life. I'm hoping my trek to the airport in Mount Road is not equally bad today. So let's see what happens. Okay. But it's true in Delhi, it's true in Mumbai, it's even true in the city I live in, Pune. So clearly urbanization has to be put under a microscope. The second thing we're looking at is mobility. Okay, because today one good thing about COVID is that, as we say, it's converted atoms to bits. So instead of people having to get onto buses and two-wheelers and four-wheelers and come to office, many people are working from home, if not all the time, a large portion of the time. So that's one advantage. We're also seeing a large investment in the green economy. So the green jobs being created. I myself chair the Government of India's initiative on what we call ACES, which is autonomous, connected, electric, and shared vehicles. So all that is going to change the face of the world. We also got Dr. Harshvardhan Singh, who was India's nominee and Deputy Director General of the World Trade Organization, to write a really brilliant chapter on trade. Because today we are finding that trade is no longer, large trade organizations like WTO. We are talking about lots of bilateral trade. And Vietnam has succeeded, in really being the China +1 by just making multiple trade deals with everybody in the ASEAN. And we're seeing that India also has an opportunity. If we really build bilateral relationships with maybe 20, 30 large countries, that will boost up exports beyond recognition. And of course, we wrote on a very critical issue, which is women's participation in the economy. I also serve on the board of an entity called Educate Girls, which actually works with tribal girls in Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, UP, and Bihar. And you'll be shocked to know that while most tribal children obviously dropped out of school in COVID, 70% of the girls who dropped out in those areas have not gone back to school. Now, which is a disaster waiting to happen, because it means that they're now working in the farms, working at homes, and are not getting educated. So we have a very compelling chapter on the women's participation in the economy. And finally, of course, what Dr. Mashelkar will talk about, which is our investments in science, technology, and innovation. Because our belief is that if we cater to all the key sectors, to summarize, agriculture, manufacturing, and services, if we take care of the enablers of where does India live and how do we put everybody to work, not just the youth of the country, but the women to work, wherever they want to work. And we also focus on futuristic thinking, like Dr. Mashelkar will talk about in terms of STI, we will be a much better economy. So I would entreat you to buy the book, because there's a lot of rich stuff in that, because we have 13 co-authors. 10 of them are absolute experts in their own domain. And my pleasant job was to put it together and write a few things. And my last anecdote on this is Dr. Narayan Murthy, of course, who many of you know, the founder of Infosys. Just when we were finishing the book in October, the publisher called me up and said, we need a foreword. So we had a quick brainstorm amongst the authors, and we said, if we can get Narayan Murthy write the foreword, it'll be fantastic. So, and I asked the publisher, when do you want it? He said, look, it's October 15th. By October 31st, can he send it to us? So with great reputation, I wrote to Mr. Narayan Murthy, saying, Mr. Murthy, we'd love to have a foreword from you. And Mr. Murthy, in his usual style, Chandra knows him very well as I do, he wrote back and said, it'll take me at least 3 months. Will you wait that long? So I didn't reply. Okay. And it was copied to the publisher. The publisher said, should we look for somebody else? I said, don't worry. Mr. Murthy is Mr. Murthy. Okay. That same evening, I got a call from Mr. Murthy saying, I'm sitting in the Air France lounge in Charles de Gaulle Airport in Paris. When do you want this? I said, sir, we need it in 2 weeks. He says, impossible. But tell me anyway, what's it about? So I said, look, we've written this book and I'll send you the summary, etc., etc. Will you write? He says, I will not write what you want me to write. I said, perfectly fine, sir. Don't worry. We are not asking for an endorsement of the book. That we'll pick up later. So I said, can be expected? He says, it'll take whatever time it'll take. I said, okay, sir, no worries. Next morning, I have the foreword in my mailbox. Next morning, believe me, 12 hours. Okay. So this is Narayan Murthy. And if you read nothing else in the book, I know nobody reads books nowadays, so I'm just wasting my time. But read the foreword written by Mr. Narayan Murthy. Read the first chapter. It'll give you a sense of why, as one of you said, we are optimistic about the future of India, thanks to the youth who are really making it happen. So thank you very much. Over to you, Dr. Mashelkar, for your thoughts on science, technology, innovation.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ganesh. On behalf of Pune International Center, first of all, I want to thank MMA for giving us this privilege. I've had the fortune of speaking at MMA long time ago, and it was a real pleasure and an honor, and all good things have to be repeated. So it's wonderful to be with you. I must, at the outset, acknowledge what Ganesh has been able to do. I can tell you this book wouldn't be there but for Ganesh. He drove us all with his amazing energy and really inspiring leadership. And that's how this book is all with you. We have written chapters in this book, and mine happens to be in science, technology, and innovation. As you know, I'm a scientist, and all my science has been done in India, including my own PhD. So I'm a truly indigenous product, if I may put it this way. I'm extremely proud of Indian science. You know, when people talk about 2020, they say it was a year of pandemic. Yes, of course, it was a year of pandemic, but it was also a year of science. It was a year of Indian science. Actually, when the pandemic arrived, we had no diagnostics, we had no vaccines, we had no therapeutics, we had no understanding of the basic virus. And our scientists were so fantastic that actually they delivered it all, as you know. I mean, today we talk about 200 crore plus jabs, but where did they come from? I think if you look at Covaxin, which is something that was developed by Krishna Ella, Bharat Biotech, you can see what difference it has made. And it was a totally indigenous product. And this all came about because of the deep investment that we had done in science over decades. It did not happen sort of overnight. That just one example shows to us how important science is and how science is actually delivering to the nation. The chapter is about science, technology, and innovation. Science solves, technology transforms, and innovation finally creates an impact. And we are taking an integral view of sort of all this. We actually begin by recalling the history of how we actually grew. And as you can see, as a poor country, we had to do lots of things on our own. Technologies were not very easily available. And there was this techno-nationalism that actually grew the initial part of our development, because it was denial-driven innovation. You go for a supercomputer, they wouldn't give it. Thank you very much. We developed our own by creating CDAC. You go for cryogenic engine, they wouldn't give the technology. Thank you very much. We developed our own cryogenic engine. We would go for nuclear energy and nuclear technology connected with that. They wouldn't give it. We said, thank you very much. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I'm very proud to say that there has been a lot of denial-driven innovation. That denial also came by some of the things that we had self-made. For example, we were a completely closed economy, so as to say. Import substitution was the buzzword. We did not open to the world economy. It was only in 1991 that we actually opened up to competition. And it is the competition which drives innovation. Otherwise, it is all inhibition and imitation. So we're late starters. I think let's also understand that. And that denial was also, part of it was created by us. And now, of course, the picture has changed. The other part I want to sort of emphasize is that in innovation, inclusive innovation was very important for us. Even today, we talk about India at 75. Nobody talks about Bharat at 75. Bharat at 75 stays 70% of it in villages, 17% of it in slums, all right? And therefore, what do we do for them? And therefore, that inclusive innovation has the definition of giving access equality despite income inequality. It has the connotation of, I had coined the term called Gandhian engineering. It is getting more from less for more people, basically. It is not jugaad of getting less from less, making it somehow or the other happen, but making high technology work for the poor. Because making high technology work for the rich is very easy. Making low technology work for the poor is very easy, but making high technology work for the poor is very difficult. Just to give an example, in my mother's name, I have this Anjani Mashelkar Inclusive Innovation Award, and it has two characteristics. The first is, I'm not a great believer in best practice. I'm a believer in next practice, which become the best practice for others. All right, ahead, not following, not copying. And it is amazing. This is the 12th year of the award, and what young people have been able to do in their late 20s. For example, we have for breast cancer, as you know, there's a painful process to detect it, expensive. And Mir Shah has developed something which costs just $1. And it is going to 25 countries now in partnership with GE Life Sciences. it's an incredible technology which is completely non-invasive. You just move it around the breast and sort of that. We have a portable ECG, for example, which actually you don't have to go and lie down and then have 12 lead, but it can sort of do it with a simple particular sort of process, which is very easy. And within less than 5 minutes, you actually can get your 12 lead equivalent of ECG. It has gone to 8 countries now. About 250,000 of these devices have been sold. Dengue test, for example, which can be done in just 15 minutes at just sort of $2. It wouldn't take 1 or 2 days. It is going all over the world now, some 18 countries. It is there. I think the main point is here, it is all about getting more from less for more and more people. And that is the specialty of India, creating sort of affordable excellence. The other good news is, of course, research and the development hub India has become. I remember in 1995, I had given a talk about India's emergence as a global R&D. And at that time, Dr. Manmohan Singh was the finance minister. Nobody believed me. But I was talking about Indian talent, intellectual capital per dollar that we can create. And in fact, in the book, you will find a table which actually shows how Indian intellectual capital per dollar that we create is the highest in numbers, not by just, and that is why you see 1,200 plus R&D centers here in India. So Indian IQ is generating IP for them. And in fact, some companies generate 1/3 of their global IP. So this entire faith in our Indian sort of talent, I think, is the base. Now, what can we do better? I think the first thing is ease of doing science, technology, innovation in India. There is a challenge. There is a bureaucracy where procedure becomes more important than the performance. And I'm afraid we are still not out of it. I know that Prime Minister after Prime Minister have made announcements about debureaucratizing, but that has not happened. And actually, we need to work on that to make it easy. I will not, but the book contains some details about it. The other one is in science and technology needs investment, of course. The fact that we have the highest intellectual capital per dollar, we should not take pride that we can give less money and get more. No, if we give more money, we can be leader and we can be at the top. That is my message to the political leadership. So there, I think the most important part is that for 30 years, our investments have remained 0.7% of GDP. And Prime Minister after Prime Ministers have promised it, by the way, all good intentions. I remember I've been a member of Science Advisory Committee to the Prime Minister for almost 30 years. And I remember being in Rajiv Gandhi's Science Advisory Committee. And I remember the last meeting that we had with him, he said from 0.7% we'd move to 2%. And with P.N. Session was their cabinet secretary, he suddenly butted in and said, sir, we have no money. And I remember Rajiv Gandhi's response. He said, I will give 2% to India and the rest the country can have. But it didn't happen. Then in 2000, I remember I was the president of Indian Science Congress when Atal Bihari Vajpayee spoke. And again, with all sincerity, he said, we'll make 2%. 2011, Dr. Manmohan Singh in Science Congress said that. And our current Honorable Prime Minister also said that in 2015, but we have not increased. And that is extremely essential. And the most important part of that is that when you look at the other figures, like 2%, 3%, 4%, in other countries, 70% of it comes from industry. Our ratios are exactly reverse. And therefore, our industry must sort of invest more. I think that is a very critical part. The other part is about taking risks. That's very, very sort of important. Because if you want to lead, you have to take risks and do things which others have not done. Now, for example, we created, I remember when I was the DG, New Millennium Indian Technology Leadership Initiative. Because Indian industry had worked in areas where markets were certain and technologies were certain. We said, no, let's work in areas where technologies are uncertain and markets are uncertain. Fuel cells were not even being talked about 20 years ago, right? No markets, no technology. And we went into it. Today, I'm very proud to announce that KPIT Technologies has indigenous fuel cell developed jointly with National Chemical Laboratory, Central Chemical Research Institution, which is ahead of the state of the art. Ahead because it gives, it takes $400 per kilowatt, as against state of the art, which is 1,000 to 1,200, and 95% of the components are here. That is because we took risks and moved forward. So I think that is one thing we need. The other thing is, of course, talent, technology, and trust. Trust is extremely sort of important in the young. And that is where I think we have to go a long way. Public procurement policies, for example, have to be sort of being very, very sort of aggressive in order to move forward. And last point I'd like to make, and Ganesh, thank you very much for mentioning about leapfrogging to pole vaulting. Let me give you a bit of a gist of it and let me conclude. The idea is a very simple one that, in fact, let me tell you a sort of story. I have been the chairman of Reliance Innovation Council. And as you know, they have grown exponentially. And one day, Mr. Mukesh Ambani was talking to me and he said, "Doc, we must leapfrog." So I said, "Do you know why the frog leaps?" He said, "No." Then I said, "Look, he does so because he's afraid of the predator. And then he jumps a few feet. Do we want to do that because we are afraid of the competitor, or should we not just leapfrog, but pole vault? The size of the pole is the size of our aspiration." And you can see in number of areas, India is pole vaulting today. You look at mobile data consumption, for example. In 2007, we were 156 among 231 nations. And then came Jio, 4 rupees per GB and voice free. And the miracle happened. We moved from 156. We did not leapfrog 200. We pole vaulted to number 1. And we continued to be number 1. And the digital payments, the rest of the story, of course, we know. And we have to do it in others spectrum. And that is where technology and policy will have to go together. Like, for example, light emitting diodes, which have very low carbon footprint, 0.2% to 88%, which jumped in 7 years. It's a world record. Why? Because we did demand aggregation and the price of 9-watt lamp reduced from $7 to $1. And there were so many other innovations. So I think the point I'm trying to make is that it is possible to make a radical transformation with speed, with scale, and with sustainability, with that spirit of not leapfrogging, but to doing pole vaulting. So that is the gist of the chapter that we have had. Finally, I must say that we have to go back and remember that it is the science that will solve a problem. It is the technology that will create transformations, and it is innovation that will create huge impact. Thank you very much.
So we'll, I think, have some comments from our panelists and then throw it open for questions. Dr. Ganesh.
Thank you very much. I generally would like to ask the audience to reflect on what they are doing right now. I saw a lot of heads down, perhaps indicating that you are observing your mobile phones rather than listen to the talk. Okay, that's a significant, statistically significant proportion of people. Don't feel offended that I'm critiquing you, because I want to share some truths with you. You're looking at some very serious people here who are looking at the development of the country and strengthening of our country. I want you to understand some very simple truths, okay? And I'm sure Professor Mashelkar will also appreciate it. Please note that global competition is a game that is happening right now. Every moment of your life, global competition is real. You cannot say, forget it. And if you care to look at India's competitiveness and where we are as a country right now and how we have changed across the years, you will observe a very interesting story. You can use your mobile phones right now. Go to Wikipedia India competitiveness rankings. Okay. It will take you hardly a few seconds if the connectivity is very good. I want you to note this. And I want you to understand the challenges are not for the Mashelkars and the Ganesh Natarajan sitting here. The challenges for every one of us citizens of India. Because this game you cannot afford to lose. Because this game is a game of liberty, freedom, and moral rights and authority. The less you are competitive, the more you are vulnerable for somebody else's ruling over you. This is the modern world, and you better be, all of you young people, because the majority of the audience looks to be around the 20s, you know, your age group is 20 plus minus. 47 year, you might be in your mid 40s approximately. Please understand this truth, my dear young friends. If I may slip into Tamil, Mashelkar sir, what I said is, I'm telling you the truth.
Yep.
It may be bitter. But remember, bitter truth is always better than sweet lies. Always. Why did I make this observation? Because our country's constitution is founded on the concept of performance of dharma or duties. What is your dharma? Here, to listen to the audio, to listen to the speakers, absorb what they are saying, see whether it makes sense to you, and participate in the game of competitiveness. Somebody has put in tremendous effort to bring out this book and the knowledge represented within. You know, I'm taking you to a slightly different tune because I want you to be sensitive to certain truths. Every time you waste food, do not forget you're disrespecting the entire supply chain of food in the country. The entire supply chain. Don't waste food. These are all small things. I touched upon this, Ganesh, because one aspect which I would love to read in this, you know, although I must tell you something, he posted me the book on 3rd of March. I got it delivered yesterday by speed post. Can we compete like this? Please ask yourself the question. How do we compete like this, sir? 3rd of March, Group Captain Vijay Kumar posts this, speed post. I'm not criticizing the postal department. I'm just showing a mirror. Where are we going to compete? Please understand this. This is the state of affairs. But we have a change. What I wanted to make, Ganesh, is we need a massive cultural mindset shift in our country. I don't want to share some horror stories which are there. Even today, in my experiences in some advanced countries, you know, at least I can name one country of that, Germany, the opinion that was shared was, we don't trust India with high quality work. You are incapable of high quality. Taramna ennane theriyadu visa evlonu kekra nation ninga. You don't know what is quality. You'll ask how much is a kilogram of quality. That's the way you will look at it. This is the perception of our country. Okay. Sir, there are big reasons, sir. We'll come to that. But today I don't want to digress. I don't want to digress because it will take us far away. We have a purpose at hand. I want you to understand. The purpose at hand is, here are a set of accomplished people who have produced a work which touches upon some key points. In fact, Ganesh had talked of all the points. There are about 10 or 12 I've noticed down, where we have resurgence. And Dr. Mashelkar has beautifully pointed out where we have actually showing the world, proving to the world, we are second to none. And I hope you got the lesson. Global I'm going to finish with this, but we'll come to this aspect also. My dear young friends, I'm addressing you because I'm a professor. My job is to transfer knowledge, value to you for your life, for your children, for your family. It's not for me. Please understand this. Okay. When you go out, means when you go out, Dr. Mashelkar, I'm also translating for your benefit. Okay. When you go out, you must go up with your head held high and proud of the kind of foundations you're standing on, and what you can do with hope in your heart and trust in yourself, individually and collectively. I don't want us to be a nation of individually brilliant and collectively mediocre nation. We cannot afford that paradox. I hope you've got it clear. You cannot be individually brilliant and collectively mediocre. That doesn't work. I hope I am clear, my dear young friends. Okay. So there is a work that has been done. There are pointers. Dr. Mashelkar beautifully pointed out how when we were denied a technology, we rose. We rose. And we proved to the world that, look, boss, we can produce the best technologies that you can think of. This is where we are. This is our country. I hope all of you have registered the primary problem. We are yet to practice our dharma as citizens of this country and demonstrate it strongly. You can talk as much as your mouth stretches, but that's not the point. The point is, what are you doing on the ground? What are you doing on the ground? That's what matters finally. So this is the lesson I wanted to share with you. But please, as I would plead with you, Ganesh, now you know how much I would have read of the book because I told you what happened actually. Okay. But honestly, I will tell you, I have read a good part of the foreword and a good part of the introduction. Okay. That I have done. Honestly, I can tell you. Okay. And I will definitely, I'm going to buy some copies and put it in my university because this is something which young people have to wake up to. You know, even mythologically, Hanuman had to be told you are strong before he realized you are strong. You know, you want Indians to be told, look, boss, you're all very strong people, to wake up. So this is the thing. Okay. I wanted to share that message. Group captain, thank you for this opportunity. I'll do get back as we go along. But please forgive me if I didn't want to digress away from the book, but I thought it's a real message to be shared to all my young friends here. Please. Okay. Balance your life carefully. Enjoy. This is the age when you can enjoy. Okay. After marriage, forget all the enjoyment you can. When you're a young person, enjoy, but balance it out with seriousness. It's not just enjoyment all the way, you know. That doesn't work. That doesn't work. So balance it out with some seriousness also. That's all I'm saying. Thank you.
Sir.
Thank you very much. Between one Mr. Ganesh and another Mr. Ganesh, we had a lot of interesting ideas. And rare to hear, Mr. Mashelkar, it's not daily that you can get a professor of this eminence. There are a lot of students here, sir, and they are not aware of whom they are listening to. I mean, that is why you probably were little digressed to see your mobile phones. You are sitting before real eminence, and he could speak to you directly is something very great. He is talking about prime ministers, so many prime ministers and interactions which he had, and about CDAC and things like that. Now, if we take this book, my book was delivered fairly on time. And not speed post. He was kind enough to send a courier. And I also spent time with this book as I mean, if somebody has written so much, then I should respect his authorship and spend some time. I did spend some time and go through the book. Few things I should speak. One is the title, India's Pathway to Success. Don't make it China's pathway. Don't make it America's pathway. Don't make it Europe's pathway. First of all, we don't know whether they are successful or not. I mean, you are thinking that they are successful. Find your genius. This is most important. If India, whenever it has found its own genius, it has succeeded. When Dr. Mashelkar was speaking, he said, whenever we were denied something, we rose up to the occasion, whether it is nuclear technology or computing technology, or of late the vaccines, anything you take where we are succeeded in digital revolution, that UPI, and so many other things. These are all our own answers to our own unique problem. One more which I should never forget to tell you is GST. I mean, I come from that world, so this is Indian GST. which has now fairly succeeded in 5 years' time. It has come to some stable state. There were so many, pessimistic people, so many doomsday sayers, so many things were there. Should we adopt Canadian model? Should we adopt some other model? So many delegations went all over 20 years, but suddenly we found our genius. We said, we will have our own GST. We will have multiple rates of duty. We will have this, that. You may call it distortion because there is no such thing as a pure GST. There is no such thing as a pure vaccine. This is not a model. We found our own vaccine. We found results. We have shown to the world that we can even export. So India's pathway to success should be our pathway. And our pathway should be defined by our genius. And our genius has to be derived from our own historical experiences, culture, and ancient wisdom, which we have got so much in plenty, so much in plenty. Some distortions have happened in history that we could not create an inclusive society, although we had our genius. But now we are progressing towards an inclusive society. We have become conscious that every man has to be taken with us in the progress. So in this, one or two small observations. One is we should become not a voting democracy or electoral democracy, but a participating democracy. We don't seem to be participating in our democracy. There is no, we vote, we have, that too, I don't know, all of us are here voters, and we decide our vote finally in the last 1 hour or half an hour only. Somewhere we go to the booth, sometimes we change in the last minute also. It cannot be that. There has to be some participation in democracy in terms of your contribution and value addition. Your own contribution in some small way, whatever be the small way. There has to be some kind of contribution, and there has to be some participation at some level. There can be only one prime minister, but there can be millions and millions of voters, millions and millions of participants in democracy. So if next decade India becomes a participating democracy in which each citizen consciously participates in some manner or the other, it will have an effect. Second thing which I found is that a lot of beautiful possibilities have been explained in this book about various aspects and the possibilities where India can reach in 10 years. One or two things which I feel is, one is there has to be a continuous monitoring mechanism in which citizens should participate, which means an audit mechanism. If somebody says that so many such and such target has been achieved, somebody should validate it, and it should come from the citizens. If that kind of mechanism is created by which we audit and validate, there's a continuous process of validation audit by the citizens of many, many things. Let us say you take a thing like Prime Minister says that 11 crore toilets have been built. Very fine. There must be 11 crore validation of it. There must be, I'm not saying it is wrong, not for a minute. I am saying that then it becomes participative. Then it becomes, everybody becomes a participant in the whole thing. Then he becomes aware of what is the goal of it. If somebody says that 10 lakh trees have been planted, there must be some citizens' participation by which there is a social audit, there is a awareness. Okay, this is second. Now, third point which I felt is very important is that we have created a situation where celebrations and this thing is exceeding the achievement to some extent. We are celebrating more than we have achieved. Sometimes I feel. So what is required is grievance redressal mechanisms at the lowest level. I come from a department where the grievances are so high. At the same time, we tend to speak as if we have solved all the grievances, as if everything is hunky-dory, as if everything is fine. Everywhere there is a celebratory note. Everywhere there are seminars. Everywhere there are discussions. Now, if an individual has got grievance, his grievance is lost. He is not able to get his grievance redressed in the easiest way, at the lowest level. There are things which go to Supreme Court. If you analyze those things, you will be really, wondering as to how can such a trivial issue go to Supreme Court. But a matter traveling to Supreme Court indicates one thing, that nobody in the chain is willing to take decision, nobody in the chain is willing to take responsibility, and nobody in the chain is wanting to get attached to a particular outcome. This is not done. Then why is it that we are all getting salaries? If everything has been divided by Supreme Court, then somebody has to. So grievance redressal, audit, social audit, and a loop mechanism by which there is a good feedback. And we have the ears to hear both sides of the thing, that not only the good thing, but also the criticism. Let us hear it. There is no problem about it. Electoral democracy should change into participative democracy, and the element of joy or celebration in as being a part of this nation should become so pervasive that I talk from a little bit of experience. After coming out of the service, my wife and another person, they run an NGO. I do a very small thing. I interact with 50 underprivileged children, very underprivileged. They go to government school, and every week I interact with them for 1 to 1.5 hours. We have a class called Knowledge Tree. They are so brilliant, but they are so lack of confidence, inability to talk. When the big school children of the same age, same class come and speak before them, they just shrink. They don't have that confidence. They don't have that. And you talk of equal opportunity, equal. We are not equal society. We are not. None of the society in the world is equal, but we are particularly not equal. So if we can make this next decade a society or a country where equality is achieved to some extent, it will be a great. This thing. $1,600 or about $2,200 per capita, we say. If there is a family of 5 people, and if we are getting say $10,000 per year, it is a big sum. We don't need to increase our per capita income, but we are not getting that $1,600 or $2,000. Per capita income is not really the per capita income of people, because almost that Oxfam study, which recently came out, it shows that almost 20% of people own 80% of wealth. If you can make this decade a decade of redistribution, a decade of somewhat a parity, a great amount of what is called as this paradise of which we are talking, Amrit Kal, we will reach. But the book itself gives you a lot of indicators of possibilities. Having gone through, I can say that this book gives you a lot of hope. It gives you it's full of hope that you can be there, you can reach there. Thank you.
Thank you very much, gentlemen, because I think one thing that is commonly coming through is India is the youngest demography from a demographic point of view in the world. So that is the opportunity. And I think all of us agree that young children, irrespective of whether they're going to government schools or to private schools, extremely bright, extremely hopeful for the future, and the youth. In fact, that's the reason why BIC dedicated this book to the youth of the country. And what Mr. Murthy has written, which is that he will think India has succeeded only when the poorest child in the furthest village in this country sees success. So I think that's the refrain that we're all talking about. I think we have a few minutes left. So any questions, comments from any? Yes, sir.
Be brief, actually. A lot of questions come online. We give a microphone, please.
While that comes, while the mic comes, is for all of you, the book in the introduction starts with a very good set of questions. It's a fantastic set of questions.
Okay.
And those questions are attempted to be answered in the chapters with different experts. Now, what I would like you young people to do is, can you work out your answer to those questions? Now, please try to do that. It'll be interesting for you. Somebody has given an answer, but I'm not saying you should just buy that answer. You need not say that. You should try to work out. It'll be interesting when you do that.
Yes, sir.
Please, yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sir, I don't think this book would have covered recently, a month back. There was a lot of lithium findings, around the region of Jammu. And now in the world, China is the monopoly in semiconductor technology, which is lithium based. Now, if that lithium is extracted, then India can have the edge over China and all over the world. That our economy like boost up like anything. And also one more thing is, we next month, G20 meeting is going to be conducted.
Sir, your question or observation, sir, please.
No, observation. But whether that is covered or not in the book, I don't know.
Yeah, okay.
That's one thing. It's not covered, I think. And my second question is.
One last question.
Yes, sir. Mr. Kannan, and he has talked about inclusive society. Yes, sir. Actually, I don't know whether this book has covered or not. Another question. We have our strength is India's pathway to success is spirituality. That correct spirituality, that is inclusive. That is mind blossoming takes place if you follow correct spirituality, not rituals or mantra, tantra, but correct spirituality is to be brought out with the result. People must be able to think properly, and inclusive society will come. And
Yeah, you got it, sir. You got it. You know where is inclusiveness is out. Kannan would like to respond to his question, Mr. Kannan. Then also,
We are progressing towards an inclusive society. I mean, government telling that we should become an inclusive society is not the answer that we will become inclusive society. We have to. We have to. Are we? Is a question which, pardon me? Please stop looking at government as a solution provider for every ill of this country. It is not. Government is an enlightened body of our own, this thing self. It is a reflection of us. And if you say that government should bring about inclusion, its programs are designed towards it, but will we become? It is for us. Am I doing my part today? Am I including one person in my life whom I was excluding till yesterday? Is the question. I mean, if one person includes somebody, then you make the calculation it will. And I want to make one more small thing about this lithium business.
that is out of syllabus actually.
No, it's out of syllabus. I mean, one small thing, because don't think that lithium is the end of battery technology. Dr. Mashelkar will tell us that tomorrow there will be some other element which will be available in plenty, which may become the basis of a battery. You don't know what is, I mean, recently I heard, I read something about a normal temperature superconductor. If it happens, many things may change. So we don't know about technology, where it will take and how it will disrupt.
Got.
Lithium may become.
Yeah. Agreed, sir. Yes, agreed.
China,
So let's see.
China is not our.
But we don't know what the quality is. A long way to go, sir. We just found
China
that.
with us.
Yeah, let's got more serious issues are there.
You are getting a lunch for less than $1, full meal. If you see 2 economic survey reports before, there is a full chapter on thalinomics. Thalinomics, there is a full chapter. It is analyzing how you are getting a full meal for less than $1. Why are we going to here and there? We are in a very good condition.
Yeah, good point, sir. Now we got over 850 people watching this program. And Mr. Professor Ganesh, I was watching the phone because a lot of questions have come to my phone. Afterwards, I stopped touching the phone. Only now I'm opening it actually. Notwithstanding, sir. Here is a question from Dr. Sandhya Shekhar. He says, his question is to all the panelists. What do you believe is the strongest weapon in our nation's armory for Hanuman to realize its potential, as Mr. LSG said, that needs to be leveraged to get us to the goalpost of success other than the much talked about youth power? Maybe each one of you can quickly react 2-3 minutes on this question. It's a very, very important question, the futuristic. Maybe I start with Dr. Mashelkar.
Yes. Yeah. May I use this just to sort of get into some other issues also. We have talked enough about inclusion. And very frankly, if this society was not inclusive, I would not be here. I was myself born in a very poor family in a village called Mashel. My father died when I was 6. My illiterate mother brought me to Mumbai. She did menial work to bring me up. I walked barefoot until I was 12. I studied under street lights. All right. And I'm still here with you. That is because this society gave me an opportunity. All right. So I think to me, education is future. Education plus opportunity is a future. I think we need to sort of dwell on that. That's the first part. The second part, as I said, the trust and confidence in yourself and national pride. These are the two things. We can't just miss out on them. That's extremely important. The third part, you said a little earlier that we do celebration much before our sort of process. In fact, I have what are called as 5 Mashelkar mantras that I give. I'm an 80-year-old man now, and I've learned a lot from my failures as much as my achievements. And one of the things I always said to young people in particular is that like instant coffee, there is no instant success. In my life, I've worked day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year. I will do so till the last day of my life. The only thing I tell them is that work hard in silence. Let success make all the noise. I think there has to be that attitudinal sort of change that is extremely important. And finally, I think as far as the electoral versus participatory democracy is concerned, I'm fully with you. Absolutely. Everyone is someone is something that we have to basically realize. That's why I talked about India at 75 and Bharat at 75. And let's not just keep on talking about India at 100. Bharat at 100 is very important. We talk about all digital inclusion. But during pandemic, I have seen young girls and young boys committing suicide because they did not have online learning. So that is the Bharat part of it. The India part of it is different. I think let's talk about Bharat at 100, which will be truly inclusive. And this is kind of peace and prosperity and tranquility for all, not for just selected few.
Thank you, sir. LS, you would like to respond?
Yeah. First,
So,
thank you, Sandhya. I know why you asked that question. Dr. Sandhya Shekhar is a good friend, and we've worked together on our research. I know this is a tough question, but Sandhya, you know, I'm never a person for giving you one-word answers. You know, that's not the right thing to do. If you're asking of a central concept that is very critical for our success, I would say it's a combination of faith in ourselves, integrity, a sense of performance of duty, and resilience. It's that system which is going to work, you know. And I think Indians are very creative people. Basically, very creative people. Creativity is in your genes, G-E-N-E-S. Okay, genes na tagarar in the kalathla. Somebody will say J-E-A-N-S. No, it's not that. Creativity is in your genes. You are genetically wired to be creative. Put that switch on. I think we will go places. This country will definitely be where it should be. And I will close this. I am sure all of us want India to be a peaceful country, a prosperous country, a progressive country. Correct, no? That you cannot be without being a powerful country. India has to be a powerful country. And please let me be very blunt. Wherever I speak, I say, we must develop very advanced, you may think I'm crazy, but I'll talk outside. We must develop very advanced, physically non-violent weapons. You know, I know you're going to say, this guy is crazy. I'm not crazy. We'll talk about this. Okay. We must become a nation which is an exemplar in terms of non-violent physically. I said physically because mental violence you can never avoid as a human being. Okay. You cannot avoid. Okay. So physically non-violent weapons, these are possible. I think we should work towards that. So we become very powerful also. If we are powerful, our moral guidance will make us peaceful, progressive, and prosperous. Because historically, I don't think we have blatantly exploited another civilization or society. At least history records. That's all.
True.
Okay.
Mr. Ganesh Natarajan, Kannan would like to add.
Just one quick thought, because I think what we have to do to succeed as a nation is there is a corporate term called D&I, which is diversity and inclusion. But we have to celebrate the diversity of India and ensure inclusion. So only then, and Dr. Mashelkar talked about Bharat. And in fact, most of my life today is spent on an entity called Lighthouse Communities, where we are working with slum youth in multiple cities, including Delhi and Pune and other places, and big states like Odisha, to ensure that there is no perception of any youth left behind. So only when we do that can we truly celebrate success as a nation.
One quick translation, somebody may not have watched. Dr. Mashelkar, I'm just translating what you said in English for the sake of our youth here. நானும் தெருவிளக்குல படிச்சு மேல வந்தவன் தான் சொன்னாரு. அதை மறந்துடாதீங்க.
Yeah.
And he's one of India's most accomplished scientists around. Okay, that we can tell you today. So that should be inspiration for all the youth here. Thank you, Dr. Mashelkar, for sharing.
Yeah, as I said in the beginning, we are blessed to have him speak to us. Now, the other question which has come from Mr. Mukesh came on. What would be the definition of success that all the four of you would agree upon? And what should be the youth do to achieve that success within the next decade? You all have to, maybe any one of you can answer this. Maybe what is the definition of success for you, actually, for the youth to achieve it? The question is,
It's a very difficult.
what would be the definition of success that all the four of you would agree upon? And what should be the youth do to achieve that success within the next decade?
It's Dr. Mukesh, Mr. Mukesh.
Mr. Mukesh, Mukesh here?
Is he here? No, it doesn't matter. Don't worry.
It's come.
So, Mr. Mukesh, one thing I'll tell you as a teacher, some aspects of life don't measure success. Don't measure the love of your mother for you. Don't even think about it. I hope you got it. Some things you don't measure, you just experience. Success has to be experienced. If you ask me personally, are you successful? I'll say bloody well, yes, I have been successful. So success is a value laden. It's not, it is value dependent and externally referenced concept. Please understand that. It is completely value dependent. Somebody may be successful because he's the richest person. Somebody may be successful because he or she is the champion batsman of the world. Somebody may be successful because you are the greatest musician in the world. Success is value dependent. So success, be very careful. For me, success is very, very simple. Am I at peace with myself? Am I at peace with the rest of the world? That is success for me. I hope I am clear.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Maybe Kannan would like to add, or shall we move to the next question?
Can I add a word here?
Yeah. Okay. Yes, Dr. Mashelkar, please go ahead.
I have I think your answer was brilliant, Professor Ganesh. And I saw full of everything, every word that you said, full of wisdom. I would just give you my definition of success. That is to see the smile on the face of 1.4 billion people.
Lovely.
Selected few. That will be my dream of my Bharat at 100, if I may put it this way. Smile on the face of every individual. Today, we don't have that for a variety of reasons. Poverty, deprivation, differentiation, freedom of speech we talk about, but freedom after speech. And there are a whole range of issues that people are talking about, you know, and you touched upon sort of some of them. So there has to be a smile on the face of each one of us.
Excellent. So here's a question from addressed to Dr. Mashelkar. Sorry, please sit down. We'll come back to you. There is a scan. You have to send the question only through. Then please sit down. Then no question means this is a question time. Please sit down. We'll come back to you. Here is a question from Dr. Mashelkar. Is from Mr. Rajiv. Sir, India ranked 40th now in the Global Innovation Index. What initiative we need to come top 10, and you are being a guru in innovation, what's your word of wisdom and advice on in this regards?
Yes, it is very interesting. You know, this Global Innovation Index, when it started, I have been on the advisory council, Global Advisory Council of Global Innovation Index. And you will remember a few years ago, we were 81. And within 1 year, we jumped to 68. Now, within 1 year, India did not become innovative. What was happening was that they were not measuring the parameters that needed to be measured. You know, many times when you count, sometimes you count things that really don't count, and vice versa. So I remember telling them about India's strengths, the kind of IP that was getting generated by these companies. There were a lot of other indicators including frugal innovation, grassroots innovation. I said, how do you take account of the fact that in Mars orbiter mission, for example, we're the first to be successful for the first effort. And we did it at 10% of the cost of what US did. How do you account that? And there were several other things that I sort of mentioned, and the indicators started getting changed. And Ganesh, the worst thing was, we are poor, but we are also data poor, because they were depending upon the word, the public places where the data were available, like World Bank, UNESCO, and so on and so forth. And we're not supplying data. And then I remember talking to Niti Aayog. That's how we jumped from 81 to 68. After 68, there has been a continuous improvement in the measurement, basically. So I would not take that 40 seriously, because it is not total innovation. For example, it covers technological innovation and measurable parameters. But non-technological innovation, for example, business model innovation, system delivery innovation, workflow innovation. You know, for example, Arvind Eye Care, by workflow innovation, is able to do a surgery which is not $3,000 but $30, basically, and some 40% of it free. It doesn't get counted. So don't get, and I'm speaking from a position of, inside sort of these indicators. So don't worry. We are actually world leaders in many things, including inclusive innovation, by the way, affordable excellence that we sort of talked about, and so on and so forth. But to seriously answer your questions, I already answered in terms of ease of doing science, technology, and innovation, debureaucratizing, making sort of more judicious investments, having more trust in our own people. I'll just take 1 minute to give you an example. For example, one of the Anjani Mashelkar Inclusive Innovation Award, he was a dengue test, in 15 minutes rather than 1 or 2 days. And very high tech, and you could know at what stage it was. What were we doing? We were importing from South Korea, from Australia, and from US. And suddenly a pandemic came. And nobody was taking these high technology based our own indigenous product. 0% market penetration. And then came pandemic. Then we went begging. And then finally South Korea only said, we can give it to you in a month. And as luck would have it, they loaded it on the wrong ship, which went to Africa. We had no kits. And then we had no alternative but to go for Dr. Kannan's kits. His market share then was 0%. Today it is 80%. Had the ship come at that time, it would be still 0%. Let's have confidence and trust. I keep on talking. India's problem is not budget deficit. It is trust deficit. I think we must have that trust, confidence in our young people. Then we can make it happen. I wouldn't worry about Global Innovation Index. My index would be that technology which makes 1.4 billion people smile. The moment that happens, there is a success, and we are at the top of the ladder.
Excellent.
Vijay Kumar, quick translation, Vijay Kumar.
Sir,
Okay, Sri, I know Sri very well. Just a minute. அவர் என்ன சொன்னாக்கா, டுடே டெங்கு ஃபீவர் இருக்கா இல்லையாங்கிறதுக்கு 15 நிமிஷத்துல டெஸ்ட் இருக்கு. இதுக்கு முன்னாடி 2-3 நாள் ஆகும் அப்படின்னாரு. சோ அது நம்ம தன்னம்பிக்கைக்கு ஒரு அஸ்திவாரம் அப்படிங்கிறார். Sir, I just translated what you said in Tamil, sir. That's
but they all understand English.
15 நிமிஷம். Okay.
They are all MBA students. Sir. Okay. Yes. Yeah. Yes.
Even MBA students have to be sometimes talk in Tamil, sir. I can assure you that.
Sir,
Yes, yes.
I'm very happy, but I'm obviously making a wrong assumption. If I made a wrong assumption, please forgive me, sir.
No.
Please.
Yeah, please.
Forgive me with a very large heart.
Yeah.
sir, if I may just add in a sentence, I mean, before my question to the definition of success, I would say it is more than a destination, it is a journey. And to take the example of Dr. Mashelkar himself, I remember he did not stop with his PhD, or he went on, it's a continuous journey from success to success. I come from the financial industry, and I remember the one of the leading best known lecture series in finance is Sir P.T. Memorial Lecture. And Dr. Mashelkar was the only scientist who ever delivered that lecture. I had the honor of
Sir,
listening
sir,
to that.
please, I just got 3 minutes number
the
of questions.
the
If you have a
question
question,
Yeah, question I'll just
please,
mention.
please move to the question.
Yeah,
sir.
the question is, a lot has been said about demographic dividend. Now, going by past experience, how do we ensure that this demographic dividend does not migrate abroad and work to the advantage of other countries? How do we make it work for India? Thank you.
Well, Mr. Ganesh Natarajan would like to answer this. Yes.
No, fortunately, sir, in the last decade or so, that the trend is reversing. I mean, the great glamour of everybody must go to America and make their career there is not there. A lot of us have stayed back in India. We've been successful in our own careers. So I think we have to create enough role models in this country. I mean, look at people like Sridhar Vembu, who's living in a village in Tamil Nadu and still making waves. So a lot of people like that. So I think if India creates enough role models, like it happened in China. Okay? I mean, people went back, they built the country, and that's beginning to happen. So we're proud of the fact that there are so many Indian CEOs today outside the India. But equally, I think we're proud of people like Mr. Ambani. I mean, they're all building big companies out of it. So I think there's enough role models, not to worry.
Ganesh, can I come in here for a minute? Is it?
Yes, please, sir. Please.
Yeah. I would put it to you this way. I think it's a very good question, as a matter of fact. I am finding this phenomenon of brain drain to brain gain to brain circulation, people coming back and so on and so forth. But let me tell you one interesting thing. You know, I was a president of National Innovation Foundation, and we're trying to select the chief innovation officer. I looked at CV of somebody, and that CV said he was great in brand making. I mean, brand building. So I asked him, how do you brand India? He had never branded a nation. He had branded a refrigerator or a car. I said, let me tell you, they brand US as a land of opportunity. How do you brand India? He said, India is a land of ideas. It is a good news and a bad news. India is a land of ideas, but US is the land of opportunity. But that picture is changing now. Until 2016-17, we were having one unicorn per year. In 2021, we had one unicorn per week, almost 44, not 52. What? Because when I did the deep analysis, we found that 50% of them came from tier 3 cities, tier 2 cities. Can you just imagine the son of a poor farmer who is 28, 29 having $1 billion market cap from a tier 3 city, for example? You know, because India is becoming a land of opportunity, because digital, and here is the master, Ganesh knows the master, giving digital access, the connectivity, open source software, cloud, mobile data, internet data being 4 rupees per GB, and the rest of it. You gave them the opportunity and they raised. We have to make India as a land of opportunity, as simple.
Great, sir. Here's another question. We got another 5 minutes. I'll try and squeeze in as many questions as possible, sir. Request you for a short answer. Here's a question from Mr. Ram from Coimbatore. This question addressed to Professor L S Ganesh. Sir, the global competitiveness, how can we enhance the quality of education in Indian universities at par with some of the world's best universities? What do you think should be one single word of advice for the universities in India to reach a level where we can compete globally?
Again, single word and all, it's not possible, sir.
2 words.
Okay.
Nothing.
No, I think the question is, what do we do to enhance our educational status? I think I've already answered the question. When people, I think the pivot of the education system has to be the teacher. And of course, the receiver is this young student, you know. We are always in this debate whether a student is a product or a customer. It's a standard debate in education. Okay. So I would dare not look at it from that angle. The student is a human being and not just an ID number. It's very, very important. So look at the young student as a human being and see how we can enhance the value of competence and character in the student, both, not just competence. Today, unfortunately, we are underplaying character big time, right from school. Right from school. Look at the syllabus and show me where character is built. That I'm willing to debate till the cows come home. The evidence is very weak. We have to focus on character also. So that is where I think slowly change will happen. And trust the teachers. You can trust me when I tell you, Mr. I think his name is Mukund. What did you say?
It's Ram.
Ram. Ram, sir, please trust me. India has some of the greatest teachers on the planet right now. Please trust me.
Great, sir.
I'm not saying all teachers are great, but there are fantastic teachers in India who can stand shoulder to shoulder with the best anywhere in the world.
Thank you. Due to paucity of number of questions that come, and there's a question. Somebody is interesting. He says the way Indian rupee is losing exchange rate will achieve Indian $1 trillion very soon. A lot of questions on those slides, and but I think because the paucity of time, we have to end because 7:30 means 7:30. Would like to end. Ladies and gentlemen, big round of applause to.
I think the lady wanted to say something.
She doesn't want to ask questions. She want to make a statement. Who is that? Sir, we are not here. No, students should know the discipline, sir. We have got a question box. Let's stick to that. We have certain ethos in the MMA. We do that. Okay, lady, there's a lot of support for you. Quickly, tell what you want to tell. சொல்லுங்க தமிழ்லயே சொல்லுங்க.
Thank you, sir. சார் நான் சொல்ல வந்தது என்னன்னா இப்ப டெஃபினிஷன் கேட்டிருந்தாங்கல்ல சார், சக்சஸ்க்கு டெஃபினிஷன் கேட்டிருந்தாங்க. சோ நான் சொல்ல வந்ததுதான் சாரும் சொன்னாரு. சக்சஸ்ன்றது நம்மளை எப்படி பிலீவ் பண்றோம், நம்ம மேல நம்ம ட்ரஸ்ட் வச்சாலே போதும், நம்மளால சக்சஸ் ஆக முடியும் சார்.
Very good.
Thank you.
Maybe so Ganesh, you translate in English.
Yeah, Dr. Mashelkar, the young lady said that she's sort of aligned with your point of view of success, you know. So ultimately, it's a way so she was supporting you. I hope I've done it correctly. Yeah.
Correct. Yes.
Thank you, young lady.
Thank you. And Dr. Mashelkar, I wish you are there next time when you visit Chennai. We will really be delighted to host you. Since you are separated by the distance, we would like to present an electronic memento to you, online memento, because may have the memento presented to you. What we do on your behalf, we give a textbook to some of the poor children studying in the school. As a CSR initiative, we do this. There's a memento which we will do that, and on your behalf, it will reach a lot of poor children. Our people go and work at different places. This is how we go and give to the children, and they really enjoy getting the books and getting the thing enhance the knowledge. And ladies and gentlemen, big round of applause, Dr. Mashelkar, one of the greatest achiever, and we are indeed privileged to have with us. Thank you so much. Now I look at Chandra, our past managing committee members, come to the stage, and let's have do us the honor of presenting the memento to other distinguished author and the panelists this evening. Please come. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Bye-bye till we meet again. Good night. Get back home safely. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Mashelkar. Good night, and really looking forward to seeing you sometime soon in Chennai. Bye-bye. Good night, sir.